there, and welcome to Movies and Entertainment on iAfrica Voices, reaching you from Ottawa, the Canadian capital city. I'm Joy Osiago. On this edition of the program, we present to you our conversation with an African singer and actress whose melodic music, with the aid of her velvety voice, has attracted a critical mass of fans and followers from different parts of the world to her performances.
Thank
Good
you
to
so
have you
much.
join us on this program. So let's get into the conversation, Sonia.
Yeah.
You know, I love your music, especially the African flavor, and then the infusion of a bit of spirituality, your dressing, and all that into it. And I know a lot of people also enjoy that about your music. Now, tell us, how is it related to your vision and the message you want to pass across?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I believe this is the gift God has given me to be able to pass messages across through my music, to be able to educate people, and to be able to soothe souls, and to make people reflect as well. And and also somehow to make people reconnect to themselves, to the
Inter-
power within them, that voice that is hiding within you. You need to create your own space where you can disconnect from the material things.
But
Okay?
it's that creation of you, uniquely you, that we're all attracted to. What kind of response do you get from people who come to watch you?
Oh, there are different responses. One particularly that kind of, touched me so much. It was, I believe it was in Canada, I was performing, and a family after my performance, they came to me, they're white folks, right? And uh, you had old couples with like their children. The guy that's 45 years old told me, "Oh, I didn't want to come to this concert tonight because I had flu. I was really sick. But my mother had, made the reservation for a long time, and something just told me to go. And by the time you started singing, my flu disappeared. And you can see me right now, I'm healed. I want to tell you, young woman, there is something within you. I don't know what it is, but keep it up."
Can you hear the voice? Just take a breath. Speak less, listen, and you will hear a lot more.
So that's one thing. And have seen people tell me, okay, the goosebumps that comes to my skin, and we travel with you. We travel with your music. We see beyond the artist. You take us into a dimension that is unexplainable. You get what I mean? And of course, I have couples who met through my concerts, and I also see couples just come, "Oh, Sonia, thanks to you, I met my woman, and we have children now," stuff like that. So different things, and people have been able to learn about the African music because I sing, and sometimes I'm able to explain as well. They like the story behind it, the history. When I'm talking about the folk tales, from how I take a folk tale to Afro jazz, to Afro beat, so that becomes inspiring to them.
This is the fairy tale I used to know in my innocent time as a child. When Boko Haram did nothing, corruption no boku, fake pastors, juju priest, no they all. When Boko Haram did nothing, corruption no boku, fake pastors, juju priest, no they all. Deceiving all my people, spiritual confusion, misleading all my people.
about musicians they didn't necessarily know about. Even if Fela was a giant, he represents the totality of African music. Yet there are some folks who doesn't know him. So they're like, wow, this is so good. I'm able to tell Victor Wifo. Some people, they don't know who he is, but if I'm inspired by the sounds, that Victor Wifo used to sing from High Life, to Salsa Costa. When I'm talking about my influence, I also, kind of mention these people, and that brings them closer.
That leads me to my next question to you, because I noticed that you studied music, jazz, interpretation, and then there's theater arts, which is a wonderful combination. How are you able to put all that together to bring out what we see now? And then also with that bit of spirituality, because I think that is why people find it really easy to connect to your music.
If I go back to how I grew up with my mom, who was very engaged in traditional music. And she was a singer and actress at the time. And she would teach us, and she would, tell a story. In African stories, African tales, there is no story without a song. And there is no song without clapping or dancing. So during the 2 hours a day we spend with my mother, in terms of creativity, she would make sure she teaches something. And that something was the folk tale, stories, which would make us to sing and dance. So I grew up in that context. Okay. And then as I was growing up, 11 years old, I was one of the youngest singer at the St. Joseph Catholic Church. I was part of the charismatic renewal, and I would reinvent stories because I wouldn't remember all the stories because we were kids, right? 4, 5 years old. I would always invent my story with a song, with the dance, with the words. So everybody around us knew that this child is unique. This child is an artist, is unique. That uniqueness, even that spirituality around me, it has always been there. People saw me that this is not just an ordinary child.
So in a nutshell, what is your vision? I mean, when you're planning to go and perform somewhere, what do you expect people to get back from you? What is the essence of you?
Okay, what I expect them to get back is not about me. Whatever their intention that brought them to my concert, whether it's to connect, whether it's to know me, whether it's to enjoy the music, they should have that expectation. They should be able to actualize their own expectation, because you never know. And when they get there, they are transformed. It is not about me. I prepare myself with that dimension that I know this is my message for tonight, and I'm doing my best. I've done my homework spiritually, physically. I do my best. I enjoy myself.
All right, tell me how you're telling the African story, because that is what is really there to this conversation. The African story, telling that African story, especially in a foreign land where many people have different interpretations of Africa, who we are, what we do. So it is our duty to tell the story. How are you telling yours?
I tell my story through my experience. The experience my mother have lived, my grandmother have lived, what they've passed on to me. And that story of a woman, for instance, a woman, the pride of a woman. We're talking about corruption in the country, in Nigeria today. But I remember my mom that grew up telling us respect is key. Whoever you see, whether young or old, you must respect people. You should never steal. Don't take what doesn't belong to you. Respect your family. Respect your siblings. Be generous. Whatever you make, try to share among the people around you.
And I noticed that a lot of people are not really into stage performances these days. People prefer to go on location, shoot scenes, come back, post produce, and turn them into films and movies for people to watch. Do people really come out to watch your shows?
Of course, they always come out whenever I produce. In fact, especially for the live performances, the theater performances, people are asking me to go back because I took a break. Because I don't, I mean, there is a time I just focus my music because that was the request by my agent. So we had to focus to achieve a certain goal, right? Uh, but still in between, I still do theater. So if you have seen my work, I mean, between 2, 3 years till last year, I was in Italy producing. And, the thing about theater, especially when it comes to, because I don't just act, but I also coach actors, okay, and singers to be able to sing and dance and act during the play. And especially with this new generation, the new Africans, that are upcoming, you wouldn't expect they would be engaged, and even in the beginning, the approach is kind of, you're like, oh my God, I have to work hard. But once you begin to work with these people and share your knowledge, you realize you're learning much more from them. And the connection, the bond that you build, and a way that you are even able to reconnect people to their culture, even if they are Africans like you, they've changed, but being able to bring them back, you will see that in the process of 3 to 6 months, you are on a production with them, their attitude changes.
You're well traveled. You go around, you perform, and I noticed that you got an award. You got recognition from Italy and Nigeria for also one other thing you do apart from music, which is something that has to do with advocacy in terms of human trafficking. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Oh my God, human trafficking. Yeah, I've got awards. Yeah. One of them includes being recognized from the regional governments from Ulster, which is provincial, like a provincial government here, for my efforts in ending human trafficking and prostitution. You already know about the issues surrounding human trafficking and prostitution of young Nigerian women. Of course, all the African women, but especially Nigerian women. So, I mean, what I had to do was, to be able to create projects to help the women, engage them in training programs for, Nigerians, they are very skilled in entrepreneurship. So I was able to articulate some projects for entrepreneurship, which most of them, they actually completed, and designed some projects on a national level to engage, to train women, coach them, and kind of requalify them, based on their trainings. In Africa, got them to work in the banks in Italy and in government structures as well. And then, of course, through the arts, there are also those who really wanted to be engaged in the arts. So through the arts, we're also able to do some projects.
Are you thinking of how to extend this hand of fellowship and advocacy to those in Nigeria, or you're doing it already?
Yes, I have tried to do that. Also, on a governmental level, I wrote proposals to the Edo State, even the recent governor, Obaseki. I wrote proposals that could bring a lot of money to Edo State, to Nigeria and Edo State, to help with these issues. But I never got a positive response. I don't know why. And I want to tell you this. Why I got these connections with the European funding is because I studied with the Council of Europe on projects management. And I have designed projects in various European countries, including Italy. You get what I mean? So I have worked with the Italian government, in structuring some projects for immigrants. So with this experience and the connections over the years, and with my partner who also have connections of lawyers, we were able to get the possibility to bring some good amount, but I was able to get it. I said, okay, this is what we have to do. We have to connect with the governor because they have to sign. But I never got a response.
Did you do a bit of follow-up? You know how things are?
Of course, I was in Nigeria myself. We invested time and money. We went there. Some chiefs, they helped out. I don't know what happened. I never heard anything from them. However, my only two way, I have always tried to engage some of the women. When I'm touring, I have my merchandise. So the Edo women, like about 6 of them, I've always engaged them to build to produce my merchandise. From those beading, you will see some of the necklaces I have for my shows, and they are the ones who made those. Some of my outfits, the ones I sell, they are the ones making all this stuff. And actually, we do have a project we were working on between Nigeria and Guinea before the COVID. As I speak right now, we have some machines in Benin City, stuff to make jewelry, like tons of those being shipped back home to do that.
Now, here is another way to navigate this whole thing and go about it. I've been dealing with the private sector in Nigeria a lot now. Have you thought about engaging some of these non-governmental organizations in Nigeria who are also doing the same thing as you in terms of advocacy and getting across to these young girls? Perhaps you could collaborate with them and see how you can get this going.
We actually working with an organization in Nigeria, in Benin City. Yes, they've been there for many years. Yeah, that Mrs. Agu is through her organization as well.
I see you're doing so many things, Sonia, which is good. So let's talk about African women acting. That is also one of your babies. Tell me about it.
Yes, African women acting. Yeah, that was created 2011 when I first came to Canada on tour. And during one of my workshops, I was sharing with women what I do in Europe, and they were really very inspired. So that was how the platform came about, African women acting as a platform where women from African continents and diaspora can share knowledge and support one another through the arts. So AWA is engaged in coaching and mentoring young and aspiring artists in the community in the area of spoken words that is very successful, music, visual arts, movie screening, and the AWA Festival, the AWA Festival, which has been running for several years now. And and AWA has activities throughout the year that is running, and then the AWA Festival, and proudly supported by the Toronto Art Council, Ontario Art Council, the Government of Canada, Canadian Red Cross, Canada Council,
That's good.
Yes, because the vision is really to have new African role models. You get what I mean? Not just talking about the usual workshop. Some organizations, how they work. Mm-hmm. You just do it and that's it. No, there is a way forward. I can take an example with the spoken word artist, Lamoy Simmons. She's an amazing spoken word artist. She started as an artist with the organization, but she is now a coach for AWA. She coordinates the spoken words coaching for artists, and she builds other artists. So before the end of the year, you can see at least 3 spoken word artists come through her.
But before COVID-19, how often were you having shows where people can come and listen?
Shows, it depends. It's like every 2 months. And then during the year, you have the festival. But then since COVID, we've been going on since June, no stop.
So you do them virtually?
Yes,
And
the festival, everything.
Welcome to African Storytelling and Music with Sonia Aimi. Way back in ancient times, thousands and thousands of years ago, among the African people, storytellers, popularly known as griots, are highly valued members of the community.
you were at the time on stage with the legendary Hugh Masekela, Miriam
Oh.
Makeba. I'm sure for you it was like, oh, this is the big one, my aha moment. Tell me about it.
Oh, my heart. Look at where you're taking me. I didn't anticipate this at all.
That's
Oh,
the
my
work
God.
of a journalist.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. So, Miriam Makeba, we want to start with that. Miriam Makeba was the spiritual connection. Miriam
Good.
Makeba, I actually was singing with her on stage when she passed on. So
Oh,
my connection with her was to hold her hand when she was falling to the
oh,
ground. So that was my connection with the woman. And then with Hugh Masekela, we performed together in Italy and my Hotel La Queens. And I have been to South Africa in a couple of times, or more than that. And then I am also an executive board member of the Miriam Makeba Foundation. So where we're trying to keep the vision of Mama Africa, the only Mama Africa, her vision alive through a series of initiatives in South Africa. And also here, like if you notice last year, the Hour Festival was a tribute to Miriam Makeba, where we
oh.
screened her movie and all of that. So yeah.
I'm really happy about the connection you had with all these wonderful people. And you see, the essence of doing this is to see how you have done over the years and to also let those who are coming behind learn from what you're doing and the resilient spirit and some of the challenges you had or you're still having, so they can also know how to navigate the process. So tell me, over the years, what have been your strength and challenges?
Okay. Okay. My strength have been like persistency. I'm very persistent
Mhm.
and I'm very dedicated. When I'm doing something, I'm focused. Nothing can distract me. I'm that kind of person. In Italy, they call me Afro Bayusha. That means I don't play. You don't play with me. Like when on the beat is on the beat. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is my strength, and I'm very professional. Of course, I have to be. And the way I carry myself, that uniqueness, that Africanness in me has played a significant role as well. That is me. It's not that I'm adding it up. It's me. That is my. So this is what the Western world they love as well. I don't have to, like look like them. In
Yeah,
my
I
difference,
see that when you're performing on stage,
yes,
like you are transformed. It's like you're in another
yes,
world.
exactly.
If Sonia can do it, so can you. Just find that thing that you're passionate about and follow your heart. Until we come your way next time, I'm Joy Usiago. Thank you for staying with us.